Alright guys, here is our review. So hopefully this isn't too scary because we've done all of this together. Yay! Alright, first we're going to go ahead and find the intersection of 2 points. We notice that they are not both linear equations, so we're going to go ahead and start by setting them equal to each other. So I have x squared minus 3 is equal to x minus 1. I need to get everything on the same side so I can factor. So I'm going to move over that x and that negative 1. So I have x squared minus x minus 2 is equal to 0. Try and factor this guy. Set it equal to 0. I get x and x. We'll multiply this to negative 2, but we'll add to a negative 1. Get negative 2 and positive 1. So I get x minus 2 is 0, and x plus 1 is 0. So I get x is 2, and I get x is negative 1. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug those in. Again, I want to find the easiest possible one to do. So I'm going to do the second one because I don't have to square stuff. So I have 2 minus 1, which is 1. So my first intersection point is the point 2, 1. And then I have a negative disappeared. Negative 1 minus 1, which is negative 2. So I have the point negative 1, negative 2. X and y intercepts. Remember, x-intercept, y is 0. So we have 0 is equal to x cubed minus 16x. I can factor out an x, and I'm left with x squared minus 16. I can factor again, because I have the difference of 2 squares, only this time I have 4 and negative 4. Running into my face. So I have x is 0, I have x minus 4 is 0, and I have x plus 4 is 0. So I get the coordinate points 0, 0. Oops, I missed a step. Sorry about that, guys. I have x is equal to 4 here, and I have x is equal to negative 4 here. So I have the coordinate points 0, 0, 4, 0, and negative 4, 0. So those are my x-intercepts. To find the y-intercept, I let x be equal to 0. So I have y is equal to 0 cubed minus 16 times 0. Which gives me 0 minus 0, which is 0, so that intercept is 0, 0. Find a line that is parallel to y is equal to 4x minus 6 and goes through the point 5, 4. So parallel is same slope, and it's already in slope-intercept form for me, which is woo. Means I don't have to manipulate anything, so my slope in the equation I'm given is 4. So I'm going to have y minus my y value, so the 4 that I find from the point is equal to 4 from the slope times x minus 5, and again, getting it from there. So I have y minus 4 is equal to 4x minus 20. Add that 4 over, I have 4x, y is equal to 4x minus 16. Next, we're going to find a line that is perpendicular and goes through the, perpendicular to y equals 5x minus 3 and goes through 3, 2. So my original slope here is 5. So the new slope I'm going to use is negative 1 over 5. So I have y minus 2 is equal to negative 1/5 times x minus 3. So I get y minus 2 is equal to negative 1/5 x plus 3 over 5. Remember, negative, negative turns positive. So I'm going to add 2, which is the same thing as adding 10. So I'm going to have negative 1/5 x plus 13 over 5. On my page so I don't write in my face. Finding the domain. So we do not want these equal to 0. So I want x squared minus 64 to not be equal to 0. So I can factor that, because 64 is perfect square. Gives me 8 and negative 8. So x minus 8 cannot be equal to 0, and x plus 8 cannot be equal to 0. So x cannot be equal to plus or minus 8. If you're doing what we talked about in the notes, you'd have negative infinity is less than x is less than negative 8. You have negative 8 is less than x is less than 8. And you have 8 is less than x is less than infinity. Second problem. I go to purple. I have sine of x minus a half cannot be equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and add that a half over. So where is sine equal to 1/2? Go ahead and look on your chart in your notes. And with these, I want the radicals. Not the radicals. Why can't I think of the radian? There we go. Because radical and radian start in the same way, and that's what I was thinking. So I notice that happens at my 30 degrees, and that's when x is pi over 6, so I do not want x to be pi over 6. Last one, square root of x. Square root of x, you cannot take the square root of negative numbers. There's nothing else going on. So in this case, all we want is x to be greater than 0. Or equal to. Because we can take, no, we don't want it equal to, because, well, I can take the square root of 0. I do not want 0 on the denominator, so we do not want equal to. My apologies, guys. All right, composite functions. So we want to put g inside of f. So I have f of the square root of x. And f is x, square root of x squared minus 3. Squared and square root will cancel each other out, so I'm left with x minus 3. I'm going to go opposite, and I'm going to put f inside of g. So I have g of this x squared minus 3. And g is the square root of, so it's going to be the square root of x squared minus 3. The difference between these two answers, I'm only squaring the x, and those will cancel out. However, I have the minus 3 with it. I don't get to just magically pull it apart. It's kind of one whole thing. If it was in quantity squared, that's when it would cancel, but I cannot cancel my x squared with this square root. Only one piece, whole thing. One piece, whole thing. All right, we're going to go ahead and simplify the next 4. Remember, when we see our trig, we want to turn them into sines and cosine. Tangent is equal to sine over cosine. And it's right next door, so we know we're multiplying. And you know, there's the invisible 1 there, so I essentially have sine x cosine x over cosine. When you have the same thing on top and bottom, you get a cross out, so your answer is just sine of x. Foiling, we have secant times secant, which is secant squared of x. Oops, forgot my c. Secant times 1 is secant. Negative 1 times secant is negative secant. And negative 1 times negative 1. I'm sorry, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. My middle cancels out, so I'm left with secant square root of x minus 1. And that is just tangent square root of x. Alright, I have log of 32 minus 2 log of 4. We know that 2 is going to be an exponent, so I have log of 32 minus log of 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. We know subtraction turns into division. And 32 divided by 16 is just simply 2. So my answer here is log 2. If you want, you do not have to show all your work for those. I will understand. Again, we have another exponent. So I have log of 4 plus log of 6 squared. So I have log of 4 plus log 36. So I have log 4 times 36, which gives me log of 144. This chart, you're just going to have to kind of know what it is. Notice I changed tangent to radian because I want you working on getting to know the radians of them. So if you are at 0, you haven't gone anywhere, so your radian is 0. If you go 360 degrees, that is 2 pi. Your point, I don't have a whole lot of room to do this with. If you have your crosshairs, your point is over here. So that is 1, 0. And we know we go cosine first. So it's 1, 0. Let's do the basic 4. So next would be 90. So this is 1, 0. 90, if you split it into 4, 4 divided by 2 is a half. So this is pi over 2. 180 is pi. And we are 0, negative 1. And 270 is 3 pi over 2. That's a lovely 2. And that is negative 1, 0. For my 45s, we know those are the same. It's root 2 over 2. And for 45s, we split that into 8 pieces. So that's 1/4. Lastly is my 30s. Remember, we start with cosine. 30 starts with 3. So that means that this has to be the opposite. If you take 360, I'm sorry. Yes, if you take 360 divided by 30, you get 12. So if you take 2 pi divided by 12, you get pi over 6. And then if you multiply that, if you double it, you get 2 over 6, which will reduce to 1/3. Yeah, exponent stuff. So we want to bring the 3 into everything. So we have 4 to the third. So 4 times 4, 16. 16 times 4 is 64. 6 times 3 is 18. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And 3 times 3 is 9. $18 minus 1 will give me 17. 64 is going to stay on top. I have a positive 17, so my x's are going to stay on top. My y's are going to jump down and hang out with the other one down there, so that means there's 13 of them now. 9 minus 1 is 8. Five times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 10 times 3 is negative 30. And 9 times 3 is 27. X, 8, y, negative 5, z. So for this one, my 125 is going to stay on top because it's got it's positive, has a positive degree. It's a degree of 1. My x's are going to hang out downstairs because they're negative, so I have 12 and 8 more, which is 20. The y on top, the 30 is going to go downstairs and be positive 30. But then these guys are going to come upstairs and be positive 5. So you have 5 minus 30, which is a negative 25. So you have y to the 25 down below. And then you have 27 minus 1, which is 26. Factoring, woohoo! No coefficient in front, so we can go ahead and do our 2 parentheses. We have x and x. Well, it goes into 40, but adds to 6. Well, if it ends in 0, we always try the 10. So 4 and 10. Can 4 and 10 get me to 6? I want negative 10 and positive 4. Does not say solve, it just says factor. So we're not going to have any equal parts. Just says solve, not factor. I'm sorry, it does not say solve, it just says factor. So just factor, no equals. This one we have to do RT. So 3 times 5, negative 5 is negative 15. So it goes to negative 15, adds to 2. Well, hey, guess what? Negative 5 and 3. So I have 3x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 5. What can come out of the first 2 terms? Well, I can divide out a 3x from both. So I'm left over with x plus 1. I leave a little space and write x plus 1 again. What do I take out of the negative 5x minus 5 to get x plus 1? I took out a negative 5. So my answer is x plus 1 times 3x minus 5. Good luck on your test.